resources and supports you have used?
When Jake was a baby, he qualified what's called for Early Steps, and it's a government program that they can get like certain therapies. Like he had speech therapy, he had an early interventionist, which is kind of like a person that encompasses a little bit of everything, and they kind of guide us into how to, help with fine motor skills, or just communicating with a child with disability, or, honestly, they're like a major support group for the parents, someone that we can use resources with. So he had that up through about age 3, and then the school system. He got in when he was 3, he gets dropped from early steps, and he's able to go to a special program. It's called a Varying Exceptionability Program, a VE program, and he can stay in that till he's 5. So he did that, and they just work on basic kind of pre-kindergarten skills, but at like a slower pace, and that kind of helps kids with disability, any kind of disability really, be able to hopefully be prepared for kindergarten. So those are the 2 major support things that we have used thus far.
What are some of the joys you have experienced from this?
Oh, seeing Jacob just accomplish things, like the first time he said a word, the first time he picked up a spoon to put it in his mouth. For him, it's a lot harder than see you or me when we were a baby. He had to work 100 times harder for certain things. So to see him take those developmental milestones, it was like a huge thing, and we made a big deal out of all those things, from crawling to walking to talking to building to climbing. So now to this day, when he does certain things, he likes us all to celebrate. So he's big into celebrations because we kind of started that, so we kind of instilled that. But just seeing him notice something, it took him a long time to, for instance, to understand Christmas. But once he did, he got so excited, and it wasn't about what he got, it was just the opening of the gifts, and he would just get so excited. It didn't matter, you could have given him a metal spoon and he would have just been excited just to open it. So just seeing the joy on his face when he would learn something new, or just find out something, was really awesome.
What are your hopes for Jacob's future?
For Matt and I, our biggest hope is that he can, live a normal, as much of a normal life as you and me. Get a job, have a family if he so chooses. People with disabilities, it's a little bit more challenging, but it's not impossible. Go to college. That's our hope and dream, and that's what we work really hard every single day to kind of get him the basics, just to be able to do that. As long as he's happy, that's really honestly all that matters. But of course, we want him to be able to live independently, not too far away from his mommy, but independently, because I don't know if I could ever be that far away from him. And it's hard to say, he's only 6, but I want to believe that he can live on his own, or at least in a group community where he has friends, support, and stuff. And I do believe he could hold a job, that's as a mom, that's my dream, and hope that he can have a successful, fulfilling life.
What are resources you are using to reach these goals in the process of getting there?
Currently, we're using the school system. Jacob is currently in 1st grade. He has what's called an IEP. It's kind of like in the healthcare field, it's like a plan of care, but it's a plan for education for a child with a disability. And once he turned 6, he dropped the development delayed title, and so he got another, and his is, I believe, intellectually impaired. I can't remember what his title is, but anyways, he has his IEP, which is a general term, and they work with him on certain goals, and every time they have a parent-teacher conference, they'll tell us, did we reach that goal? Are we still working on that goal? And that what we do is we work very closely with the teacher to help him reach that. You know, he is delayed, so he is in a special ed class. He works, at a different pace than the average first grader. But that doesn't mean that he still can't, reach those goals. I can't remember. He also gets speech therapy through the school system as well as occupational therapy. And occupational therapy, as you know, is really what they work with him on is just be able to hold a pencil properly. I mean, that's where they started because unfortunately he never got approved when he was little. And so once he was in school and they could see that, hey, he can't even hold a pencil properly, be able to write. How is he supposed to write? Do handwriting, do anything. So he did get approved for that, which we thank God for that. And so he gets those. And just, when he comes home, we work every day that he's in school. We sit down and spend time with him. And with him, it's repetition. Write his name over and over again. Certain words, we just talk about it over and over again. So with Jacob in particular, repetition is how he, is learning things. So.
They don't want you in. Stay here. Okay,
What has
stay
your
here.
child taught you about yourself?
No, stay here.
Good question. I mean,
Sorry.
Jacob has definitely made me humble. I mean, to be a parent, I believe, is just a gift. And then, to have a child with a disability, I mean, it's taught me patience. You have to have an extraordinary amount of patience to be able to help him learn. Because if you're not patient, you're going to get frustrated, and he's going to get frustrated, or she's going to get frustrated, whatever the case may be. And then you can't move on from that. And it's going to take, it has taken, and it probably always will take Jake, 5 more times than an average child to learn something. So it's a lot of repeating things, a lot of repetition, and honestly, you have to have a lot of patience for that, because sometimes you're just like, please, so mommy can go do the dishes, or, So, I mean, really, he's taught me patience and love. I never knew I could love a human being until I had him. And I mean, every parent can say that, when they have a child, from the moment they're born, no matter what, they're your child. So I look at people differently, I don't necessarily see them on the outside, I see what's in here more. So I think he's really taught me to really look on the inside of the person, not, as they say, not judge a book by its cover.
What do you want health professionals to know about your experience?
Honestly, it's a very individual thing for Jacob in particular. The more you treat him like a typically developing child, the more he will respond. If you treat him like a baby or treat him differently, he will notice, and he tends to regress. So I would say, for a healthcare professional, kind of get to know the child, ask questions first, because each child is very, very different. Some kids, they don't necessarily, really respond to someone that's in their face, giggling and stuff like that. Some kids, they need kind of a firm hand. Some kids, they kind of need a little bit of both. So I would suggest that the healthcare professional definitely get the parent's opinion. Definitely kind of feel out the child the first couple times, like if you're working on home therapy or whatever. We've had good and bad experiences with therapists. So the ones that reached Jacob, where they kind of got to know what he's passionate about, and use that to be able to get him to respond to them. Like one of his speech therapists, she was only with him a couple weeks and realized he loved mirrors. So she would get him to look at himself in the mirror and repeat stuff that she'd say. Where else? She tried everything else. She tried, because we had suggested, he loves food. So we had suggested, fruit snacks or something. Hey, Jacob, if you say this, I'll give you a fruit snack. That didn't work. So she, with him, she used mirrors. And so like I said, every child's different, but I think in some senses, if you really, listen to the parents and get to know the child, you will you will find that it was much easier for them to be able to trust you and respond.
Right. How do you want your child to be treated by healthcare professionals? So I think that's kind of.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think I kind of said before, I think that any child wants to be treated with love and care, and that they're not different. And especially children with like a learning disability, if you treat them like they have a disability, they're going to continue to act like that. But if you treat them like any other child, but understand that they might not be able to communicate at that same level,
Right.
but kind of reach them at a lower level, you'll see so much more response come out of there. You know, I mean, like I said, we've had good and bad experiences, and the good experiences were those healthcare professionals that treated Jacob like a typical child, but understood he did have some limitations, but encouraged him to surpass some of those, and they challenged him. So I just feel like if you treat them like a typical child, but understand they do have limitations and try to work with them on reaching certain goals, you know, make smaller goals and get them to reach those goals, you'll just find that they'll respond better, maybe even respond quicker, maybe not, but you'll have an overall better experience with them as well as the parents.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.